Welcome to this deep dive. Today we're getting into something really vital for all of us. Forgiveness. You know, both when we need to give it and maybe when we really need to receive it ourselves.
Yeah, it's huge. And it can be, well, incredibly challenging, no doubt about it.
Absolutely. But our source for today, it's an interesting podcast episode called Let It Go, The Power of Forgiveness. It really frames it as fundamental for our own good.
It does.
Yeah.
And the core idea that jumped out, was this concept that holding on to bitterness, that anger, it actually poisons us more than the other person.
Right. Like it destroys its own container, as the saying goes.
Exactly. So forgiveness in this view isn't really about saying what happened was okay. It's more about choosing to free yourself from that ongoing pain.
Untangling yourself. I like that. And it's interesting, the source brings in different angles. Like there's a scientific one.
Yeah, they mentioned a study, I think it was the Journal of Behavioral Medicine, and it basically linked forgiveness to, well, concrete health benefits. Things like lower stress, lower blood pressure, maybe even a longer life.
Wow. So it's not just like a philosophical thing. There are actual physical impacts.
Apparently so. But then there's also the spiritual perspective that the podcast really dug into, particularly from a Christian standpoint.
Okay. How did they frame that?
Well, for Christians, forgiveness isn't just seen as good for you. It's presented as an act of spiritual obedience. They pointed to Ephesians 4.32.
Interesting.
Something like, be kind and compassionate, forgiving each other, just as in Christ God forgave you.
So the rationale is rooted in receiving forgiveness first.
Precisely. The idea highlighted is that you forgive because you yourself have been forgiven by God through Christ. That's the model.
That whole image of the cross comes up there too, doesn't it? Jesus forgiving people even while they were, still sinning.
Right. It's presented as this ultimate example of grace given freely.
But let's be real. That source also acknowledged how incredibly hard this can be. It's not just flick a switch.
Oh, absolutely not. It didn't gloss over the difficulty. And it talked about the consequences of not forgiving.
Like what?
Like how unforgiveness can kind of trap you, create barriers, even in your spiritual life, like with prayer.
Trapped is a good word for it.
Yeah, and they brought up that warning from Matthew chapter 6, connecting how we forgive others to how we receive forgiveness ourselves. It's a strong link.
It sounds like holding a grudge is like carrying this heavy debt almost.
That's a good way to put it. And the podcast suggests the way towards peace is, well, releasing that debt. Making a conscious choice to stop, dwelling on it, replaying the hurt.
Okay, so that's giving forgiveness, but what about the other side? For listeners who feel they need forgiveness.
Right. The podcast had a really hopeful message there, too. It centered on the Christian belief that Jesus' death and resurrection were fundamentally about offering that forgiveness freely.
So how does one access that, according to the source?
It guided listeners towards, like, a personal moment, a reflection. It even suggested a specific prayer if someone felt ready for that.
What was the prayer?
It was simple. Something like, Jesus, I believe you died for me and rose again. Forgive me, heal me, and teach me to forgive others the way you've forgiven me.
And the idea is that this prayer, it's a beginning.
Yeah, exactly. The podcast called it the first step, the beginning of freedom. Not like an instant fix for everything, but a crucial starting point.
So if someone listening just prayed that or felt that, what's the takeaway message from the source?
It's really a message of welcome into grace, and encouragement to keep talking to God. The core point is your past is forgiven, done.
And flowing from that, I guess, is the challenge to then pay it forward.
That's the call to action, yes. If you've received that kind of grace, the encouragement is to extend that same grace to others. Let it flow through you.
It leaves you thinking, doesn't it? Well, just a final thought to leave people with, maybe. What could actually change in your life, your relationships, if you truly stopped carrying those old hurts? The ones done to you, maybe the ones you feel guilty for. What would that freedom actually look like?
Yeah, that's a powerful question to sit with.